Okay, so yeah, about the shape of marginal cost and marginal benefit. Yeah, for a while, they can actually be they can be flat. They can even be increasing and then dropping. You'll see some differences later on. That's perhaps a few weeks from now. But maybe what I should have said is, although the shapes can be somewhat different, eventually it's decreasing. You know what I mean? Eventually it's decreasing for marginal benefit, and marginal costs eventually are increasing. So same for marginal costs. They might be flat, okay? They might even temporarily go down, right? But eventually they should be increasing. For example, the way they could be temporarily decreasing is, I don't know, maybe when you have benefits from employing two people rather than one person at the factory, right? So if they can coordinate the work better rather than one person being responsible for everything, then perhaps efficiency is improved, then maybe the costs per unit are actually go down, even though you pay for two employees rather than one, right? In that case, the costs will decrease per unit, right? So for example, I don't know, one employee can make 200 t-shirts for you per week, right? Two employees can make 600 t-shirts for you per week, right? So you will pay the same amount to the second employee because of, otherwise you discriminate, right? You're going to pay the same amount, but the amount of output has tripled, right? Your labor costs have doubled, but the amount of t-shirts you produce tripled, right? So per t-shirt, the costs go down, right? But again, eventually they should go up, because as you keep having more and more workers, right? The cost per unit will eventually go up, right? Okay. So yes, the word eventually should be there. I have mentioned. So that's that. Then what else was I supposed to talk about? Just let me have a look at my notes. Yes, opportunity cost and examples. Okay. So within marginal cost, okay, we have something called opportunity cost. That's included within marginal cost. So opportunity cost is the best alternative. I'll just use alt for alternative. The opportunity cost is the best alternative that you have to give up if you do any kind of activity, right? So for example, you being in this class, right, has some alternatives, right? Instead of being in the class, you could be just sitting alone on the bench doing nothing, right? Or you could have been reading a book, or you could have been watching a movie, right? Three other things, let's say, are possible, right? So let's say the most boring thing is to sit on the bench doing nothing, right? Let's say reading a book is a bit less boring, and watching a movie is, let's say, the best alternative. Of course, the class is even better, but let's say watching a movie is the best alternative, right? In that case, the opportunity cost of coming to the class, even though it's free, right, is not reading a book, is not sitting on the bench, right? We need to choose the best alternative. So the opportunity cost of coming to the class is actually losing the opportunity, hence the name, right? Losing the opportunity to do something else, which is watching a movie. Because if you wouldn't come to class, you wouldn't sit on the bench doing nothing. You'd instead watch a movie, because that's the best alternative. Okay. So that's an example for opportunity cost. Let's have another example. Let's say you go hiking, right? Say, let's say hiking takes 3 hours, and let's say instead of hiking, you could, I don't know, let's say, sit on the bench, read a book, watch a movie. The best alternative is, let's say, watching a movie. Second best is reading a book. Okay, and let's say the cost of a bus ride. You need to take a bus to the mountains to do the hiking, right? You need to spend, let's say, 60 NT on the bus, going back, going to and from. Okay. In this case, how much is your opportunity cost of hiking? The total opportunity cost of hiking.
What's the cost of the movie?
Just the opportunity of watching a movie. So yeah, I'm not looking for an answer in the form of just one number. That would be 60 NT, the cost, plus also the opportunity of watching a movie. That's also something you lose out. You have to lose 60 NT, right? But you also have to lose the opportunity of watching a movie. So the opportunity cost of hiking in this case is watching a movie and 60 NT, right? Here's another example. Let's say you go hiking for 3 hours, right? Instead, you could have, let's say, helped in a local shop where you would have earned 1,500 NT within that 3 hour, right? 3 hour window, or you could have, I don't know, help the tourists to have a look around some nice places in those shows who pay you 2,000 an hour, 2,000 for 3 hours, right? And the bus ride costs 60 NT. How much is the opportunity cost of going hiking?
In cash or?
Yeah, let's say in cash. Yeah.
3,560.
Why 500?
You said 1,500 for the first, 2,000 for the opportunity with the tourists, and
yeah,
sorry, 60 NT.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, maybe I wasn't clear. You don't have enough time to both do the help at the local shop and help the tourists. We're going to choose. In this case, we're going to choose the best alternative, right? So the shop gives me a value of 1,500, whereas helping the tourists gives me a value of 2,000. So I'm going to choose the best, which is 2,000 rather than 1,500. This practice for choosing the best alternative, right? Plus the actual cost, out-of-pocket cost, 60. So the answer here, I wasn't clear perhaps in explanations, right? Is that the opportunity cost in this case is what was that? 2,060. 2,060 because we choose the best alternative, right? Plus whatever our pocket costs, right? Now notice the difference from accounting, right? Accounting doesn't look at opportunity costs, right? Because if you're actually writing down your costs of, I don't know, let's say it's not hiking, let's say it's a delivery of a lunchbox to your friend or whatever, right? Yes? You could, I don't know, charge that 60 NT on the company to be refunded for the bus ride, right? But you wouldn't be refunded for the lost opportunity of helping the tourists to get the 2,000, right? Yes? So there's a difference from economic costs and accounting costs. Economic costs include opportunity costs. Accounting costs don't. They only look at out-of-pocket costs. Right? So a bit of a difference there. Let's point it out. Different from accounting costs. Okay? And then those are the examples for opportunity costs. Last subtopic. Which is cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis. Where we just combine what we've learned about marginal costs and marginal benefits. Perhaps this is the most important because that will be a bit more relevant to the math work we'll do throughout the rest of the semester. Okay. So cost-benefit analysis says you better keep doing the activity as long as its marginal benefit exceeds its marginal costs. Whatever is the activity. Okay? So let's have a look at an example. Let's just say it's eating ice cream. Let's look at the costs of eating ice cream. Okay? And well, price is kind of clear to understand, but there are other concerns, health concerns, right? Plus, when you look at the satisfaction of eating ice cream, how can you compare that to money, right? I mean, what's more, 100 T or the satisfaction of the first ice cream? It kind of depends on the person, depends on the situation, depends on a lot of things, right? But you know what? wonderfully. In sciences, we can have experiments that can answer the question, really. Let's say I give you this choice. 20 TNT here or ice cream. Which one do you choose? Ice cream, right? Okay. Let me get 2000 NT or ice cream. Okay, so the answer is somewhere between 20 and 2000, right? And I keep going. Okay, let me take 40 NT or ice cream. Which one do you choose? Ice cream. Okay, let me take 200 NT and ice cream. 200. So the answer is already between 40 and 200. I can keep going to come pretty close to what's his monetary value of the satisfaction, right? Same with the sentimental value, right? I can give you a choice. Half an hour call back home, right? Or some amount of money. And keep giving that choice, increasing the amount when you choose the call, right? Decreasing the amount when you choose the money, right? That's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool experiments. That's a social science, right? So, yeah, it's hard to measure, but with these experiments, let's say we already measured. Okay. So the costs. Let's just do it clear. So the costs, let's say, of the first ice cream is only 18 NT. Let's say the health concerns are negligible. The costs of the second ice cream is, let's say, 28 NT. And the costs of the third ice cream is, let's say, 42 NT, whatever. Okay. Now let's say the benefits. Let's use another color for that. The benefits of the first ice cream. You really would like some ice cream now. So based on this experiment, I've measured that the benefit from the first ice cream is the whole 60 NT, right? The benefit from the second ice cream is a whole, let's say, it looks higher than this, so let me call it 43 NT. And let's say the benefit of the third ice cream, there's still benefit, right? Not as much, because you already had 2 ice creams. You don't really want another one. You maybe, okay, you wouldn't mind another one, but you don't really want one, right? So let's say if you are given a choice, right? Again, as I explained with experiments, perhaps the benefit is 20 NT, right? So the first ice cream has costs and benefits, right? It costs you NT, but you are really happy enough to exchange a 60 NT for the ice cream, right? Is it worth going for the first ice cream? It's worth it, right? Because you get the benefit of 60 NT, benefit equal to the 60 NT from eating that ice cream. But you only have to pay 18 NT for that, right? The satisfaction from the second ice cream is still pretty high, 43 NT, equal to the amount of 43 NT. Again, we can measure that with experiments, right? But you only have to pay 18 NT as a price, plus maybe you have to pay with some future health issues, right? Not much, it's just one extra ice cream, so perhaps the value is about 10 NT or so, right? So the total cost of the second ice cream only, so the total marginal cost of the second ice cream only is 28 NT, right? But the satisfaction is still pretty high, 43 NT. Should you go for the second one? Yes, because the benefit is greater than the cost, so that's the principle, cost-benefit principle. And the third ice cream costs you more than it gives you in benefits, right? You shouldn't basically do it, right? You shouldn't go for it. Okay. So in this case, what is the optimal amount of ice creams to have? 1, or 2, or 3? How many ice creams should this person have? 2. Yeah. So cost-benefit analysis gives us the optimal amount of ice creams to have. Optimal quantity. Okay. And one last example, and that'll be the last thing for today. It's still same subtopic of cost-benefit analysis, with just more details, okay? With just more details where you finally get into some very, very simple formulas. Okay. So let's say we have quantity here, perhaps it's ice cream or whatever, doesn't matter. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many do I have in my notes? Up to 5, yes. Okay. Let's say we have total benefits here from ice cream. That's not marginal benefit, that's the total satisfaction from all 5 ice creams, for example, when we're looking at this number. When we're looking at this number, that's the total benefit from all 2 ice creams, not from the second ice cream. We'll have another column for marginal benefit. That'll be the benefit of only the third ice cream when we're looking at this number. Okay, so total is all of them combined. So let's say when you have 0 ice creams, the total benefit from whole 0 ice creams is 0. The total benefit from one ice cream is 120. The total benefit of 2 ice creams is, let's say, 220. The total benefit from 3 ice creams is, let's say, 290. That's all measured in money. Again, maybe based on these experiments or whatever. The total benefits of 4 ice creams is 330. And the total benefits of 5 ice creams is 340. Okay, let's find marginal benefit. How do we find that? How much is the marginal benefit of the first ice cream? How much is the additional benefit of the first ice cream? Can you guys tell me? Huh? Exactly, 120, because the increase of my satisfaction from this one more is 120, right? How much is the marginal benefit, the additional benefit from only the second ice cream, not 2 ice creams? 100, yes, because my satisfaction increases by the value of 100. Okay, so we derive the formula. Change in total benefit. I'll use triangle for change, right? Sometimes we use triangle for change in some notation, right? Also divide by change in quantity. Because sometimes we might have different data. So the change in quantity here is 1, right? So 100, this is a change of 100, but by 1 is still 100, right? Because perhaps this is not ice cream, perhaps this is the total number of t-shirts you make per hour, and maybe these are in tens units, or maybe in hundreds, right? Right? Then you'd have these thousands extra revenue for extra 100 shirts, right? Then marginal benefit from 1 shirt, you're going to divide that by 100, right? For now, it's simple. Okay, very good. And then let's say total costs. Oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, we put marginals in between the columns. I'm sorry, in between the rows. So here we have, how much do we have here? Is it 70? 70. And here it's 40, yes? Okay. Why is that? Because if I do it otherwise, it could be a bit confusing. So imagine if I write down this 120 over here, right? So when I increase my ice cream amount, right, the additional marginal benefit from the first one is 120, but when I go down from 2 ice creams, if instead I decide, should I have 2, should I have 1? Okay, let's go for only 1, right? Then maybe it might be confusing, should I look at this number or this number? So depending on which direction we're looking at, right, maybe numbers could be a bit confusing. So for that reason, in economics, often we put the marginal numbers in the middle, and we avoid any kind of confusion over here, right? Because regardless of whether you're going this direction or this direction, you need to look at the number in between, right? Otherwise, should I look at this number or this number, right? Okay, so the total costs of all ice creams is, say, 0 or 0 ice creams, 30, let's say the price is 30, then the health issues kick in as well, I guess. Can you guys help me find the marginal costs of each additional ice cream? So how much is the marginal cost of the first ice cream? Yes, 30, somebody said 30 over there, right? How much is the marginal cost of the second ice cream, not 2 ice creams? 40. 40, yes. This difference divided by the difference in quantity, right? So we again derive the formula. Any formula you see on the board, probably a good idea to take notes of any kind of formulas. Total cost, change in total cost divided by the change in quantity. Because as I said, for the rest of the semester, we'll focus a bit more in like charts and math. Today, we had a lot of descriptive stuff in the lecture. I prefer to focus more on charts and math. So any kind of formula and stuff, anything like that, that's what you've got to take note of, right? Okay, how much is the marginal cost of the ice cream, that's, I think it's 60, yes. Then we have 90, and then we have 110. Okay, a couple of more columns that we introduce here: average benefit and the average cost. Okay, so average is total benefit divided by quantity. We don't have the changes here, no triangle here, okay? And average cost is total cost divided by quantity. Okay, also no triangles there. So of course, the average cost of one ice cream is how much? 30, right? Because there's only one and I need to pay 30. The average cost of 2 ice creams, right, is 35, right? Because 70 divided by 2, right? The average cost of 3 ice creams is, I don't know, 130 divided by 3, right? I don't really know how much it is. Perhaps you know. So this is 30. This, here we can divide by 0, right? It's undefined. This is 35. This 130 divided by 3 will be 40 and 43, right? I think it will be 43 and 43. Yes, thank you. 220 divided by 4 is 52.5. Is it 52.5? I think it's 52.5. And 340 divided by 5, I'll just leave it as it is. Okay? Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at the cost column, right? So let me rename this here. That's average cost. And total cost, right? And here then we must have the benefits. You don't have to change anything, right? I just put them in the wrong place, right? So average benefit of the first ice cream is the same, 120, as the first, because we just divide by 1. Average benefit of 2 ice creams is 110, yes? Average benefit of 3 ice creams is 290 divided by 3. 270 divided by 3 is 90 plus 2/3. So that's 96.7, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. 330 by 4 is, just going to leave it as it is. And 340 by 5, same as here. Okay? Now, using the cost-benefit analysis, how many ice creams should that person have? Here's the rule, right? How many ice creams should that person have?
3.
3. Let's see. I don't remember the answer. So as long as this column exceeds this column, exceeds or equal, right? So for 3, for third, it still exceeds. For fourth, the extra benefit of the fourth is smaller than the extra cost of the fourth. That's correct. 3 is the correct quantity. Okay? Right. Questions? No questions? That's almost it. So let's go for a break. After the break, we're going to go to the computer lab. You will have your practice test, and that'll be it for today. Thank you. Bye-bye. Not bye-bye. I'll see you in the computer lab.